Mary is the most common female name in the entire recorded history of the Western world. More queens, more saints, more ordinary women across more centuries have carried this name than any other in European history. But Mary is not a European name. It never was. It is a 3,000-year-old Middle Eastern name. Born in the ancient world, carried across continents by migration, war, religion, and empire, and the bloodline of history. It has been quietly transporting into every culture it touched is far darker, far older, and far more extraordinary than the gentle familiarity of the name itself suggests. Mary begins in ancient Hebrew as Miriam. That is the original form. Miriam. And it is old. Significantly older than Christianity, older than the Roman Empire, older than most of the civilizations most people learn about in school. The earliest recorded Miriam in history is Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron, the woman who watched over her infant brother in a basket on the Nile River, the woman who led the Israelite women in song and dance after the crossing of the Red Sea, a prophet, a leader, a woman significant enough to be named alongside Moses and Aaron in the book of Micah as one of the 3 leaders God sent to guide the Israelite people out of Egypt. That Miriam lived, according to biblical chronology, approximately 3,200 years ago, which makes the name Mary one of the oldest continuously used female names in the world. What does Miriam actually mean? Scholars have argued about this for centuries and have not fully agreed. The most widely cited interpretations are beloved, wished for child, sea of bitterness and rebelliousness. The uncertainty itself is informative. The name is old enough that its original meaning has blurred across the centuries, the way the oldest words always do. What we know for certain is what it became. When the Hebrew scriptures were translated into Greek, Miriam became Mariam. When Greek passed it to Latin, Mariam became Maria. And from Maria, every European language built its own version: Mary in English, Marie in French, Maria in Spanish, Mare in Irish, Mary in Scottish Gaelic. The same ancient Hebrew name, wearing a different coat in every language it entered. Here is where the story gets complicated and interesting. Some linguists and biblical historians argue that Miriam is not originally Hebrew at all. They argue it is Egyptian, a name carried back into the Israelite community during the period of Egyptian captivity that forms the backdrop of the Exodus story. The Egyptian element Emare, pronounced approximately Mary, means beloved or love in ancient Egyptian. It appears in Egyptian names going back to the Middle Kingdom period roughly 4,000 years ago. Names like Meritaten, beloved of Aten, and Meritamun, beloved of Amun, both carry this root element. If this linguistic analysis is correct, Miriam was not a Hebrew word that the Israelites invented. It was an Egyptian word that Hebrew slaves living in Egypt absorbed into their own naming system during centuries of captivity, then carried back out of Egypt with them when they left. Which means the name Mary may be carrying an Egyptian layer underneath its Hebrew surface. A layer that predates the Exodus. A layer that connects the name to the ancient Nile Valley civilization, to the world of pharaohs and hieroglyphs, and the most powerful empire in the ancient Middle East, sitting quietly underneath a name that most people associate exclusively with a young Jewish woman in 1st century Nazareth. The name Miriam existed for over 1,000 years before Christianity, but Christianity is what turned it into the dominant female name of the Western world. Mary, Miriam, the mother of Jesus of Nazareth, elevated the name to a level of sacred significance that no other female name in European history has ever matched. In Catholic and Orthodox Christian theology, Mary became the Theotokos, the God-bearer, the Queen of Heaven, the intercessor between humanity and the divine, the most venerated human figure in Christian tradition after Jesus himself. The theological weight placed on Mary's name had a direct and immediate impact on how often it was given to children across the Christian world. In medieval Europe, naming a daughter Mary was not simply a personal preference. It was an act of religious devotion, placing the child under the protection of the most powerful female figure in the Christian cosmos. It was also, in many communities, considered almost presumptuous. The name so sacred that some medieval traditions discouraged its use for ordinary children out of reverence. That tension between devotion and reverence played out differently across different cultures and centuries. In Spain and Latin America, the name Maria became essentially universal, combined with other names in constructions like Maria de los Ángeles, Maria del Carmen, Maria Concepción. The name of the Virgin attached to every female child as a mark of sacred protection. In Ireland, the name Maire and its variant Maureen became so common that for centuries they were used almost interchangeably with the word for woman itself. By the time European colonization carried Christianity to the Americas, Sub-Saharan Africa, South and Southeast Asia, and the Pacific, the name Mary traveled with it, embedding itself in every culture that came under Christian influence and creating the global distribution that makes it the most statistically common female name in recorded Western history. The extraordinary thing about the name Mary across 2,000 years of Christian history is how consistently it was given to, or chosen by, women who shaped the world around them in ways that history could not ignore. Mary Magdalene, Miriam of Magdala, was, according to all four gospel accounts, the first person to witness the resurrection of Jesus. A woman named Miriam from the town of Magdala on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, who arrived at the tomb before dawn on the first Easter morning and encountered what the entire subsequent history of Christianity was built upon. Whatever you believe about that event, the historical record is consistent. A woman named Mary was the first witness. Mary, Queen of Scots, Maria Stuarda, was one of the most politically significant and personally dramatic figures of the 16th century. Queen of Scotland at 6 days old, Queen of France by marriage at 15, executed on the orders of her cousin Elizabeth I at 44. After 18 years of imprisonment, her execution triggered a Catholic international crisis, contributed to the eventual fall of the English Protestant settlement, and produced a son, James VI of Scotland, James I of England, who united the British crowns and commissioned the King James Bible. Mary Wollstonecraft, the 18th century English writer who published A Vindication of the Rights of Woman in 1792, laying the intellectual foundation of the modern feminist movement, gave the name yet another dimension. Her daughter, also named Mary, married the poet Percy Bysshe Shelley and wrote Frankenstein at 19 years old. Mary Seacole, Mary Curie, Mary Wollstonecraft, Mary Queen of Scots, Mary Magdalene. The name keeps appearing at turning points in history with a consistency that goes far beyond statistical coincidence, as if the weight of 3,000 years of accumulated significance kept drawing remarkable women toward the name, or drawing the name toward them. The name Mary tells you something specific about your family, depending on which cultural tradition placed it in your family line and when it first appears. In Irish families, Mary appearing before 1800 is almost certainly a Catholic religious tradition. The name was so dominant in Irish Catholic communities that in some parishes the majority of women shared it, distinguished only by their family surname and their townland. In Scottish families, the Gaelic form Mary, or the anglicized Mary, carries a different tradition. connected to the Jacobite cultural world and the Stuart royal line, where Mary Stuart's legacy kept the name politically charged long after her death. Mary appearing repeatedly in Scottish Highland family lines before 1800 may carry Jacobite sympathy encoded in a name. In English Protestant families, Mary carried the double weight of the Catholic tradition it came from, and the Protestant ambivalence toward that tradition, making it, paradoxically, a name that both sides of the Reformation claimed. In American families of any European descent, Mary appearing in colonial records before 1750 is an almost universal marker of Christian European heritage. Catholic or Protestant, the name was so dominant that its presence tells you less about specific national origin than about the religious tradition that named your ancestor. One name, Egyptian roots, Hebrew identity, Greek translation, Latin transformation, and then the most extraordinary global distribution any female name has ever achieved, carried across every continent on Earth by the single most influential religious tradition in Western history. If your name is Mary, you are not carrying an ordinary name. You are carrying the oldest, most widely traveled, most historically significant female name the Western world has ever produced. And it has been carrying something ancient and extraordinary the whole time. Subscribe. See ya.